Sir, stop right there. Whoa, what's the problem? This area is restricted. I need to see your badge. Okay, sure.
Stop right there. Where do you think you're going? The guard's voice cut through the soft music like a blade. Conversation slowed, heels paused, and curious eyes turned toward the entrance. She stood there, holding a small worn basket close to her chest, her fingers
I must say
gripping
this
its
evening
edges
is quite
as if it
delightful.
were the only
Indeed,
thing
a
keeping
fine
her
gathering.
steady.
And the champagne is exquisite.
I need
What's
to go
going on
inside,
here?
she said quietly.
We have a situation.
A
Follow
ripple
me,
of
I'll
laughter
handle
spread
it.
across the marble-floored hall. Inside, a sharply dressed woman repeated, her lips curling with amusement. This is not a marketplace. More guests turned now, their polished shoes
I must
and
get
glittering
through. This is
jewelry catching
important.
the
I
light
can't
as
allow
they
it. It's
look
against
her
the
up
rules.
and down.
The rules are wrong. This affects
Her
everyone.
sandals
orders
were
are clear.
dusty.
Please, sir.
Her
I need
dress,
to get through.
though
Everyone
clean,
needs to get
carried
through.
the weight
Wait your
of
turn.
long
It's an
days under the
emergency,
sun.
please.
Right.
She did not
Is this your
belong
ID?
here.
You look different.
Not
Yes,
in
it's
their
me. I
world.
just cut my hair.
Please.
Wait here while I
She
verify
tried
this.
again, her
This
voice
place is
firmer
simply not
this
up to our
time,
standards.
though her
The
eyes
decor
betrayed
is so
the pressure
uninspired.
building inside.
I expected much better for the price.
I was invited. Invited, the guard scoffed, stepping closer. By who? No
Darling, that
answer
suit
came
is certainly
immediately,
making a statement.
and that silence
that
was
so?
all
Do
they
tell.
needed.
It's bold.
Almost
Oh,
too bold.
This is embarrassing,
Please, sir, there's
the
no
same
need for
woman
that.
said,
Ma'am,
shaking
I
her
need to
head.
check your bag.
Someone should
understand, but I'm
remove
no
her
threat.
before she ruins the atmosphere. A few people chuckled. Others whispered behind raised
You can't
glasses.
enter without proper
She
identification.
probably got
Please,
lost,
sir, I
a
must
man
get
muttered.
through.
Rules are
Or
rules.
maybe she thinks
Miss,
selling
you can't
on the
stand
street
here.
qualifies
Please move
her
along.
for this
I
kind
am not
of place.
causing trouble. I am
Another
waiting.
added.
Waiting for what?
The girl stood still, absorbing every word. Her shoulders remained straight, but her grip on the basket tightened. I'm not here to cause trouble, she said, her voice low but
Miss,
steady.
you can't stand here. Please
Too
move
late
along.
for that,
I am not
the
causing
guard
trouble.
replied,
I am waiting.
reaching for her
Waiting for
arm.
what?
You need to leave.
I
She
need to
pulled
get
back
through.
slightly,
Now.
not in defiance,
Ma'am, please wait. Your
but
name
in
isn't
quiet
on the list.
resistance.
Check again. It's
Please,
under Afolabi.
just let me speak
One
to someone
moment, please.
inside. The woman stepped forward now, her heels clicking with authority. She looked at the girl as if she were something misplaced, something that needed to be corrected. There is no one here for you, she said coldly. People like you don't just walk into places like this. The words hung heavy in the air.
You are not welcome here.
Around
This
them,
is private
the
property.
room had fully shifted.
I suggest you leave now,
What
before
was
this becomes
once a
unpleasant.
celebration had turned
Do not
into a
return.
spectacle.
You are
And at the
dismissed.
center of it all, she stood alone, unwanted, uninvited in their eyes, yet somehow unwilling to walk away. The world of the powerful. The tension at the entrance did not stop the event, it simply shifted its focus. Inside, laughter returned in softer tones, as if the disruption outside was nothing more than a passing inconvenience. Crystal glasses clinked gently, and the room glowed under warm golden lights. This was not just any gathering. It was a celebration of power, influence, and success. At the center stood Vanessa Cole, the woman whose voice had cut through the girl moments earlier.
This has been such a lovely
She carried
evening, hasn't
herself
it?
with effortless
Absolutely,
authority,
the ambience is just
her posture
perfect.
straight,
And the
her
service
expression
is
controlled.
impeccable. I'm
People
so
listened
glad you
when
could
she
both make
spoke,
it.
not because
This place
she
is
was
incredible.
loud,
The
but
atmosphere,
because
the
she
people,
was used to being
it
obeyed.
is a wonderful event.
This partnership
The hall
changes
is stunning.
everything,
I
a
love the
man in a
chandeliers.
tailored suit
They really
said,
make the room.
leaning
Absolutely.
toward her.
Nadine,
We're about to
so
dominate
glad you
the
could make
market.
it.
The pleasure is
Vanessa
mine.
gave a small,
To a lovely
satisfied smile.
To a lovely
We
evening.
already do. This just makes it official.
What a magnificent hall.
Around them,
The energy here is electric.
executives exchanged
The perfect place to
confident
connect
nods.
and make an impact.
Influencers
Time to engage.
documented the night, their cameras capturing
new
polished
opportunities.
angles
Being here
of a
tonight,
world
it means
that
the
appeared
world.
flawless.
We have come so far
Every
together,
detail,
and this is
from
just
the
the
decor
beginning.
to the guest list,
To our shared
had been
success
carefully
and to
selected
many more
to reflect
moments like
status.
this.
No room for mistakes tonight, another executive added. Vanessa's eyes briefly flicked toward the
Our
entrance
projections
before
indicate a
returning to the
20% uplift in the
conversation.
first year alone.
There
Impressive.
won't
What
be
about the
any,
scalability
she
risks?
said calmly.
We've stress tested it. It's
Everything
built to
is
handle
under
five projections are
control.
solid, Nadine. We
A
can
group
scale this
nearby
quickly.
laughed
The
as someone
strategy sounds
mentioned the
sunny, but what
interruption
about the
outside.
risks? We've
Did
stressed.
you see her? One woman
Can you
whispered,
believe she wore
amused.
that?
She
Absolutely
looked completely
priceless.
out of place. It's becoming a problem, another replied. They don't
I'm
know
concerned
boundaries
this venture
anymore.
is too risky. But the
Vanessa
potential rewards
overheard
are
but said
significant.
nothing at
Rewards
first.
mean nothing without data.
She simply took a
A
slow
compromise
sip of
then?
her
More
drink,
analysis?
then spoke with
Exactly.
quiet certainty. People go where they are not meant to be when they forget their position. Her words carried even without effort. And tonight, she continued, is not a place for confusion. The group nodded in agreement. To them, the world was structured, predictable. There were levels, and everyone knew where they belonged. Or at least, they were supposed to. A younger employee stood nearby, silent, observing more than speaking. His gaze drifted toward the entrance again, where the commotion had not fully settled. There was something about the girl's persistence that did not match the assumptions being made about her. But no one else seemed to notice. For the rest of the room, she was already dismissed. A momentary distraction. A reminder of a world they had left behind, or perhaps chosen to ignore completely. Vanessa set her glass down and straightened slightly, reclaiming the full attention of those around her. Let's not waste time on irrelevance, she said. We have bigger things to focus on. And just like that, the room agreed. The girl behind the struggle. Long before the bright lights of that hall and the cold eyes that judged her, her mornings began in silence. The kind of silence that comes
Thank you for
before
joining the
world
Executive
wakes up.
Focus Circle.
She
As
would
leaders,
rise
our
before
strategies
dawn,
must our
tie
teams
her
and
hair
embrace
back,
change to
and
achieve
step
sustainable
outside
growth.
with her basket,
I look forward to your
breathing in
insights
air
as
that
we
still
refine our
carried the
approach.
night's coolness.
In closing, let
There
us
was no
reaffirm our
audience
commitment
there,
to
no
progress.
laughter, no
Center Hall has
whispers,
been the
just the
foundation
quiet
of our
rhythm of
achievements.
survival.
Together, we will
Her
build on
name
this
was
legacy.
Amara.
Thank you.
Every day, she walked the same streets, calling out softly, offering what little she had to sell. Some people ignored her. Some bargained too hard. A few showed kindness, but never enough to change her situation. Still, she never complained. Not out loud. At home, a small two-room space held everything she worked for. Her mother, whose strength had faded over time, relied on her without ever asking. Her younger brother watched her closely, learning from her silence, from her patience. At first, her mother would often say. Amara always shook her head gently. I'm not hungry. It was never true, but it was easier that way. She carried responsibility the same way she carried her basket, firmly, without drawing attention. Even when the days were long and the sales were poor, she returned home with something. Somehow, she always did. But there were moments, rare and quiet, when her eyes revealed more than her words ever would. Moments when she paused, looking beyond the streets she knew so well, as if there was something else waiting for her. Something unfinished. The invitation had come unexpectedly. Not in the form of a grand letter or a formal call, but through a connection she had held onto carefully. A name. A promise. A reason she had never shared, even with her family. You don't belong in places like that, someone had once told her. Amara had not argued. She simply listened. But deep inside, she knew something they didn't. She had not walked all this way just to stand at a door and turn back. Even now, outside that hall, with eyes judging and voices pushing her away, she held onto that quiet certainty. Because her presence there was not a mistake. It was a purpose. The first confrontation. I said I need to go inside. Amara's voice did not rise, but it did not break either. It stayed steady, even as the guard tightened his grip on her arm, trying to guide her away from the entrance. You're not
This is a
listening,
restricted
he
area. You
replied,
need authorization
irritation
to
slipping
enter.
into
I
his
understand, but
tone.
it's urgent. I must see someone
You
inside.
don't have permission
I
to
don't
be
make
here.
the rules. No
I
ID,
do.
no entry. Please,
That single
important.
response,
Good afternoon,
calm
everyone.
and certain,
I
drew
understand the
more
wait has been
attention
long.
than any protest
We are
could
processing
have.
as quickly as possible. Please stay in line.
Conversations near the
Your
entrance
cooperation is
faded
key.
again.
We will
People
get to
turned,
everyone.
not out of
Good
concern,
morning.
but
How was the
curiosity.
weekend?
It was great,
They
thanks.
wanted
How
to
about
see
yours?
how far
Pretty
this
good.
would go.
Hey, I think someone's here. That
Vanessa
must be the new
stepped
client.
forward,
I'll go meet
her
them.
expression no longer amused, but sharpened with control. You're still here, she asked, her voice low but cutting. Amara met her gaze, not boldly, but without lowering her eyes.
You can't just walk away from
Yes.
this.
What
A
more do you
quiet
want
murmur
from me?
spread through the growing crowd.
Accountability.
She
You knew
doesn't
the
even look
consequences.
ashamed,
I had
someone
no
whispered.
choice.
Vanessa tilted her head slightly, studying her as though trying to understand the source of that calm. Then, with a faint smile that carried no warmth, she spoke
I
louder.
will not be undermined by you
Tell
or
me,
anyone
she
else.
said,
You will
what
respect my
exactly made you
position
think
or
you
you will
belong
leave.
in a place
This
like
is my
this?
domain. I demand
The
respect.
question hung in the
is that
air,
clear to
not
everyone?
meant to be answered, but to expose. Amara's fingers tightened around her basket, but her posture remained straight. I didn't come here to belong, she said. I came because I have a reason to be here. A few people laughed at that. Others exchanged looks, entertained by her persistence. Reason? Vanessa repeated. You sell on the street. Her eyes moved slowly over Amara's clothes, her worn sandals, the basket she held. Everything about you says you're in the wrong place. The words landed harder than before, because now they were public, deliberate. The guard stepped in again. This is your last warning. Leave, or we'll remove you. Amara didn't move. Around them, more guests gathered, drawn in by the tension. Phones appeared subtly in hands, recording without being obvious. What had started as a small interruption was now turning into a spectacle. She's wasting everyone's time, a man muttered. Why is she even arguing? Another added. Amara heard them. Every word. Every assumption. But she did not respond to them. Her focus remained on the door, as if everything she needed was just beyond it. Vanessa's patience thinned. She stepped closer, her presence commanding silence from those around her. This isn't a place you can just walk into and demand attention, she said firmly. There are standards. There are expectations. And you don't meet them. Amara finally looked at her fully. Not with anger, not with fear, but with something quieter. Maybe your standards are the problem, she said softly. For a moment, the air shifted. The crowd stilled, surprised by the response. Then the laughter came again, louder this time, sharper. Vanessa's expression hardened instantly. Enough, she said. Get her out. The guard reached for Amara again, more forcefully now. But even as the pressure closed in around her, even as the eyes judged and the voices dismissed her, Amara did not fight, and she did not plead. She simply stood her ground. Silent observers and hidden tension. As the noise around Amara grew, not everyone joined in. A few stood back, watching without speaking, their silence carrying more weight than the laughter filling the room. Near the edge of the gathering stood Mr. Adiwale, an older man whose presence was often overlooked because he never competed for attention. He had arrived early, spoken little, and observed everything. Now, his eyes remained fixed on Amara, not with judgment, but with quiet curiosity. Strange, he murmured under his breath. Beside him, a young employee named Daniel shifted uneasily. Sir? Mr. Adiwale didn't answer immediately. He simply continued watching as the guard tried again to move Amara, and she resisted, not with force, but with stillness. She's not afraid, he said finally. Daniel frowned slightly. Maybe she doesn't understand what's happening. No, Mr. Adiwale replied calmly. She understands very well. Across the room, another executive paused mid-conversation, his attention drawn not to the noise, but to the girl's composure. While others saw defiance, he saw something else, certainty. The kind that doesn't come from ignorance, but from knowing something others don't. Amara's eyes moved briefly across the room, not searching, but recognizing. It was subtle, almost unnoticeable, but it did not go unseen by those who were paying attention. Daniel noticed it too. It's like she's been here before, he whispered. Mr. Adiwale gave a faint nod. Or she knows she belongs here, even if no one else believes it. At the center, Vanessa continued to control the situation, her voice firm, her authority unquestioned. Yet even she seemed slightly unsettled now, not because of Amora's words, but because of what she couldn't read. People like Amora were predictable. They apologized, they explained, they backed down. But this silence, this calm refusal to break it didn't fit. "Why is she still standing there?" someone asked quietly. No one had an answer. The laughter had begun to fade, replaced by a different kind of tension. The kind that builds when something doesn't make sense. Amara adjusted her grip on the basket, her expression unchanged. She wasn't looking at the crowd anymore. Her focus had shifted deeper into the room, as if waiting for something, or someone. And that was when Mr. Adewale noticed it. Not her clothes. Not her words. But her patience. "She's not trying to get in," he said softly. "She's waiting." Daniel looked at him, confused. Waiting for what? Mr. Adewale's gaze remained steady. For the right moment. Escalation to public humiliation. Vanessa's patience snapped, not loudly, but with a cold finality that silenced the space around her. "I've been more than tolerant," she said, her voice firm and controlled. "But this has gone far enough." She turned slightly toward the security guard, her expression sharpening. "Remove her. Now." The command
Stop
carried
right there.
weight.
This entrance is for
It
authorized
was
personnel
not a
only.
suggestion.
But officer, I'm just trying to get
The
inside.
guard stepped
I don't
forward
care.
again,
Step
this
back
time
now.
without
All right,
hesitation.
I'm going.
Good.
His
Move
hand
along.
reached for Amora's
You need to
arm,
come with
tighter
me
than
now.
before, his grip
Let
no
go of
longer
me.
cautious but forceful.
Stop resisting.
"You heard her," he
We'll
said.
sort it out, Tina. We'll sort
"You
it
need
out.
to leave." Amora's
Hold it
body
right there.
shifted
You can't
slightly
pass
under
through
the
here.
pressure,
I have
but
to
her
get
feet
in.
did
It's
not
important.
Not without
Her
proper
fingers
ID. I won't ask
tightened
again.
around the basket.
Okay,
The
I'm
only
leaving.
sign
Move
that the
along now.
moment was beginning to reach her.
Unity and justice.
"I'm not causing trouble," she said quietly. "Your presence is the trouble," Vanessa replied immediately. A soft wave of laughter moved through the crowd, encouraged now, no longer restrained. "She really doesn't understand," someone whispered.
We
"Or
can't
she
ignore
just
the struggles of
refuses
our
to
community.
accept reality,"
These people need our
another
help. Your
voice
idealism
added.
is charming, but we must be
Vanessa
pragmatic.
stepped closer
Pragmatic
again,
or just
her
protecting your own
heels
interests.
echoing
This is
against the
business,
polished
not
floor,
charity.
each step deliberate. She looked Amara up and down once more, slower this time, as if making sure everyone else saw what she saw. "Look at yourself," she said, her tone almost conversational, but laced with quiet cruelty. "Your clothes, your shoes, even the way you're holding that basket." She gestured lightly toward it. "Do you honestly believe you can walk into a place like this and be taken seriously?" The words were not shouted, but they spread further than any raised voice could. People leaned in, listening, watching, judging. Amara felt it. The weight of every eye, every silent agreement, every unspoken conclusion about who she was and where she belonged. Still, she did not interrupt. Vanessa continued, now fully aware that she held the attention of the entire room. "This is what happens," she said, turning slightly toward the audience around her, "when people forget their place. They start to believe they can stand anywhere, speak to anyone, demand things they haven't earned." A man nearby chuckled. "It's embarrassing. It's disrespectful," another added. Vanessa nodded once, satisfied. "Exactly." She turned back to Amara, her gaze colder now. "You're not just out of place," she said. "You're disrupting something important. Something built by people who work to be here." The implication was clear. People like you did not work hard enough. People like you did not belong. The guard tightened his grip again, attempting to pull her away. This time, Amara's body moved slightly with the force, her balance shifting, but she caught herself before she could stumble. A few people laughed at that. Not loudly, but enough. For a brief moment, something flickered in her eyes. Not anger. Not defeat. Something deeper. Something that hurt. But it passed quickly. She straightened again, her shoulders steady, her voice quiet but intact. I didn't come here to be seen like this. Vanessa gave a small, dismissive smile. Then you should have stayed where you belong. The words landed harder than anything before. Around them, the crowd had fully formed now, no longer pretending this was a private matter. Phones were no longer hidden. Whispers were no longer subtle. This was no longer an interruption. It was a spectacle. And at its center stood a girl being reduced, judged, and dismissed in front of a room that believed it had every right to do so. The turning point, she refuses to leave. No. The word was quiet, but it cut through the noise more sharply than any raised voice. The guard paused, his grip still firm on Amara's arm, but his movement stopped. Around them, the murmurs faltered, as if the room itself needed a moment to register what had just happened. I'm not leaving, Amara said, her voice steady, no longer carrying the strain from before. Not until I speak to someone in charge. Vanessa's expression shifted, not into anger, but into something colder. Controlled disbelief. You've already spoken enough, she replied. Amara
No,
shook her
I
head
can't go with
slightly.
you.
Why not? It's
Not to
important.
the right person.
I know, but my place is here.
That answer
But you'll be
unsettled
safer
more
with
than
us.
it challenged.
I appreciate
It
it,
wasn't
but I'm
loud.
staying.
It
This
wasn't
market is
desperate.
too tense today.
It carried a
must stay calm,
certainty that
everyone.
didn't fit the
But how?
situation
Look at
she
the
was
crowd.
in.
Like Zola there,
Who
so
exactly
composed,
do you think you're
inspiring.
asking for?
We should follow her.
Vanessa
Your performance
said,
is a
her tone
disappointment. This
tightening.
level of incompetence is unacceptable.
Amara met her
I
gaze
expect better.
again,
Immediately
calm,
rectify this,
unwavering.
or consequences will follow.
Someone who
Do I make
understands
myself
why I'm
absolutely
here.
clear?
A
I
ripple
know
of
what you're
unease
trying to
moved
do.
through the
It
crowd.
won't work. You
The
have
laughter
no
that
idea who
once
you're
filled
dealing
the
with.
space no longer came as
I
easily.
know enough.
People
I'm
exchanged
not
looks,
intimidated.
their earlier confidence beginning to thin. She's still talking like she belongs, someone whispered. That doesn't make sense, another replied quietly. The guard hesitated now, his grip loosening just slightly, not out of kindness, but uncertainty. Something about her refusal didn't feel like defiance anymore. It felt intentional. At the edge of the crowd, Mr. Adewale straightened, his attention sharpening. He had been watching closely, but now, something had changed. She's not asking, he murmured. She's expecting. Daniel glanced at him, confused. Expecting what? Mr. Adewale didn't answer immediately. His gaze remained fixed on Amara, studying the calm in her posture, the absence of fear in her voice. An answer, he said finally. At the center, Vanessa crossed her arms, reclaiming her composure. This is not how things work, she said firmly. You don't walk in uninvited and demand access. Amara didn't react to the words. Instead, her eyes moved briefly past Vanessa, deeper into the room, as if searching for a presence others couldn't see. I'm not demanding, she said quietly. I'm waiting. That word lingered. Waiting. It shifted something in the air. Because suddenly, this was no longer about removing her. It was about understanding why she refused to leave. What exactly are you waiting for? Vanessa asked, her voice edged with impatience, though something beneath it had begun to shift. Amara did not answer immediately. Her eyes moved past the crowd once more, steady, certain. And then, from the far end of the hall, a voice broke through. She's waiting for me. The room fell into a sudden, heavy silence. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. Even the guard's grip loosened completely as a tall, composed man stepped forward, his presence commanding attention without effort. Mr. Kofi Mensah. The name alone carried weight. Founder. Owner. The man whose vision had built everything around them. Vanessa straightened instantly. Mr. Mensah, I. He raised a hand, stopping her before she could continue. His eyes were not on her. They were on Amara. You took your time, he said, his tone calm, almost familiar. Amara gave a small nod. I had to be sure. A ripple of confusion moved through the room. Vanessa's expression tightened. You know her? Mr. Mensah finally turned to face the crowd. I do. The simplicity of the answer only deepened the silence. He stepped closer to Amara, his gaze steady, his voice clear enough for everyone to hear. This young woman, he said, is not here by accident. She is here because I asked her to come. The words landed like a sudden shift beneath their feet. Vanessa blinked, caught between disbelief and the need to maintain control. There must be some misunderstanding, she said carefully. There isn't, Mr. Mensah replied. He turned slightly toward Amara. Would you like to explain, or should I? Amara hesitated for a brief moment, then reached into her basket. The movement drew every eye in the room. From beneath its worn contents, she carefully pulled out a sealed envelope, untouched by the dust of her daily life. She handed it to him. Mr. Mensah opened it without urgency, then held up the document inside. This, he said, is a signed agreement. He paused just long enough for the room to lean in. A partnership contract, he continued, granting her full ownership of a significant share in this company. The silence deepened. Vanessa's composure cracked, just slightly. That's not possible. It already is, he replied. He looked back at Amara, his expression carrying something close to respect. Her mother, he added, was one of the earliest investors in this company. Long before any of this existed. When there were no guarantees. When no one else believed in what we were building. Murmurs began to rise again, but they were different now. Quieter. Uncertain. She chose to remain unknown, Mr. Mensah continued, never asking for recognition. But she secured something far more valuable. His gaze moved across the room, settling briefly on those who had laughed the loudest. A future. Amara stood still, her hands now free, her posture unchanged. But everything around her had shifted. Vanessa took a small step back, her voice no longer steady. And her? Mr. Mensah's answer was immediate. She is here to claim what already belongs to her. The words settled into the room like a final truth no one could ignore. No one laughed now. No one whispered. The same eyes that had judged her moments ago now searched for understanding, for correction, for anything that could make sense of what they had just witnessed. Amara did not look at them. She looked only ahead, calm as she had been from the start. Because nothing had changed for her. Only for them. No one moved at first. The silence lingered, heavy and uncomfortable, pressing down on the same people who had filled the room with laughter moments ago. Vanessa stood still, her posture no longer confident, her expression struggling to hold together the authority she had worn so easily before. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but nothing came. For the first time that night, she had no control over the room. Mr. Mensah turned slowly, his gaze sweeping across the crowd. What happened here, he said, his voice calm but firm, was not a misunderstanding. No one interrupted him. It was judgment, he continued. It was arrogance. And it was done openly, without hesitation. His words were not loud, but they carried weight far greater than any accusation. Vanessa lowered her eyes briefly, the shift subtle, but visible enough. Around her, others began to look away, avoiding the weight of his gaze. The same people who had spoken freely before now chose silence. You saw someone, Mr. Mensah said, and decided her worth without knowing her story. Without asking a single question. A few heads dropped. Others remained still, caught between shame and disbelief. That is how injustice begins, he added. The words settled deeply, leaving no space for denial. Vanessa finally spoke, her voice quieter now. I was protecting the event. Mr. Mensah looked at her, not with anger, but with clarity. You were protecting an image, he replied. At the cost of respect. The distinction was sharp. And in doing so, he continued, you failed to recognize someone who deserved both. The room felt smaller now. The confidence that once filled it had dissolved, replaced by something far more fragile. Vanessa straightened slightly, but the effort felt forced. I didn't know, she said. That is exactly the problem, Mr. Mensah answered. You didn't try to know. The words left no room for recovery. A quiet understanding passed through the crowd. This was not just correction. It was consequence. Reputation, carefully built over time, was shifting in a matter of moments. Respect, once assumed, was now uncertain. Through it all, Amara remained still. She had not stepped forward. She had not spoken beyond what was necessary. Her expression carried no triumph, no satisfaction. Only calm. Mr. Mensah turned to her. You've been treated unfairly, he said. If you wish, this can be addressed further. Amara shook her head gently. No, she replied. Her voice was soft, but clear enough for those closest to hear. I didn't come here for that. She looked briefly at the crowd, not with resentment, but with quiet understanding. I came because I was meant to be here, she added. And that was all. No demand for apology. No need for revenge. Just truth, standing where judgment once had. Consequences and public accountability. The room did not recover. It shifted, quietly but completely, as if something invisible had been pulled away. The confidence that once filled the air was gone, replaced by a stillness no one could escape. Vanessa remained where she stood, but the space around her had changed. Conversations no longer leaned toward her. Eyes no longer followed her with admiration. Instead, there was distance. Careful, deliberate distance. Mr. Mensah stepped forward, his presence steady, his voice calm but impossible to ignore. Positions are not given to protect pride, he said. They are given to protect people. No one responded. And when that responsibility is misused, he continued, there must be accountability. Vanessa looked at him, her expression tightening. What are you implying? I'm not implying, he replied. I'm being clear. He turned slightly toward the executive team. Effective immediately, your role in overseeing public relations is suspended.